This summer, I was watching a series on Netflix called Heartstopper about two teen boys who fall in love. One of the characters in the series is the sweetest boy named Nick, who another character likens to a golden retriever. And my son Jael, who I was binging the show with, asked me and my partner Cristela, why do they call Nick a golden retriever? And Cristela explained that in romantic relationships, the human version of a golden is positive, earnest, open-hearted, and that these human versions of golden retrievers sometimes pair up with the black cat versions of people. Skeptical, maybe brooding, aloof. If you've listened to any of my podcasts before, you know my partner Cristela has called me the black cat of our relationship. But I've never fully identified with that because have you met an actual literal black cat? They are often the goofiest of cats. But then my son Jael said one of the most insightful things he has ever told me. He said, no, Cristela, my mom is not a black cat in a relationship. My mom is a Chihuahua. And I was like, clock it. And Cristela said, no truer words have been spoken. You see, there is no dog on this planet quite like the Chihuahua. I challenge you to find a creature with such a big attitude in such a little body. And Chihuahuas love big too. Usually only they're one person or a handful of people. They are not out here trying to make the whole world like them. They have their small circle of chosen loved ones and they will protect them with all their might, which is fierce, even if it's confined to a teeny tiny cute little body. Some of us, human Chihuahuas, are only 5 feet tall. But the Chihuahua's model for us, that verve, is not confined to small stature. Their disposition feels innate, inherent. A Chihuahua doesn't have to be convinced it's fierce. It's born knowing exactly who it is. So I personally feel very flattered when someone likens me to these beautiful little beings. I have loved several Chihuahuas in my life, including my favorite boy named El Tiny. Oh, El Tiny was a little prince, my cuddle buddy when I was in high school. And then there was Nettie, my Chihuahua rescue in my 20s. She was not a fan of many people. My mom always called Nettie her favorite chola, which, rude. What about the chola you raised? But anyway, the Chihuahuas, Nettie and El Tiny were some of my great loves of my life. And I think my love for them was informed by my admiration and connection to Chihuahuas because this breed has a storied history. They are ancient. Their lineages are long and royal, and some would say magical. Their story is expansive, from spirit guides of the great Toltecs and Mexica to near extermination with colonization, to roaming deserts, to becoming the great Bruiser Woods from Legally Blonde.
Oh, Bruiser, it's so exciting! Look! Harvard! Are you excited?
And Paris Hilton's famous Tinkerbell, who has a whole memoir, by the way. Chihuahuas have seen the world change. And we've seen the world change its attitude toward Chihuahuas. Oh, I remember the Chihuahua craze of the late 90s and early 2000s when they were in commercials.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
And movies like Beverly Hills Chihuahua.
Hey, mommy!
Oh, who is that hunky Chihuahua over there? Oh,
Nice.
Mi corazón!
So today, the story of the Chihuahua like you haven't heard it before. From their glory in indigenous Mexico to their Hollywoodification and why no one does it like the Chihuahua. I'm Maria Garcia, and this is Muy Excited, the show where we explore cultural moments of the past and present. Today, the meaning of the magical Chihuahua. If you have indigenous ancestry from what is now central Mexico, chances are your ancestors cross paths with the ancestors of the modern Chihuahua. Because at around the year 900, a group of peoples we now know as the Toltecs loved an early ancestor of the Chihuahua, the Techichi. The Techichis, a small, sturdy dog, were beloved by the Toltecs. And just to give you an idea of who the Toltecs were, if you've seen those massive body columns carved out of volcanic rock, that was made by them. The Toltecs were sophisticated and artistic. They studied the cosmos rigorously and built intricate, beautiful temples to Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent deity. They believed that once you died, you'd need a spirit guide to make it to the afterlife. And that spirit guide was the Techichi, the Chihuahua's ancestor. The Toltecs believed that in the afterlife, the Techichi's physical size would reflect their big spirit. So they'd become massive and humans would become small. If you were nice to the Techichi during your lifetime and were buried with them, then the Techichi would guide you through Mictlan, the various stages of the underworld. The Techichis were such a big part of Toltec society that the Mexica, popularly known as the Aztecs, though if you know, you know, you don't really call them that, absorbed the religious beliefs about the Techichi. And the Mexica magnified their reverence and love for the Techichi. The Mexicas believed that the Techichi held mystical powers and were spiritual protectors, and sometimes the reincarnation of loved ones who had died, which honestly sounds so familiar to me. My mom is always talking about which of our dogs is a reincarnation of loved ones who've passed. She swears my dog Chalino is my late dad taking care of me. And we've never had a Chihuahua that my mom isn't like, this is so-and-so who passed, who's taking care of us. My mom's ancestral line can be traced to this part of central Mexico, by the way, where the Chichis were revered before Columbus arrived. The point is that the Chichi occupied a very privileged space in Mexica society. They were pampered by nobility and highly sought after. And then the Spanish arrived, and we know what they did. They wrote about it themselves in diaries. They slaughtered and tortured and raped and committed a brutal genocide. And with them, the Spanish brought European dogs. And these dogs, they were different from the gentle Techichi who enjoyed sitting on laps. These were war dogs, bred and trained to intimidate and terrorize. Whereas the Techichis were spiritual companions for the Mexica, the dogs the Spanish brought were used as weapons, enforcers of empire. They were huge mastiffs, molossus dogs, and greyhounds, sometimes up to 250 pounds and 3 feet high. And they were bred for war, sometimes even decked in armor and spiked collars. Eventually, more Spanish settlers arrived in modern-day Mexico with other European dogs that weren't war dogs, and the caste system began. And at the bottom of the Spanish-imposed racial hierarchy were indigenous people and their culture. And that the Techichi was a big part of that culture. I think it's safe to say that many Techichi owners were killed or enslaved or put into the bottom of the caste system. And that the Techichis lost their glorified role in society. They were also nearly annihilated by Spanish soldiers who grew hungry and sometimes ate them, or they roamed to rural towns and villages until they made it to the northern state of Chihuahua, what is now Chihuahua, my state, where I was born, where my family has been for generations, and there the Techichis roamed in packs, integrated into small villages, probably bred with other small European dogs, and over hundreds of years, the modern Chihuahua, the descendant of the Techichi, came to be. Then, by the late 1800s, American tourists visiting Mexico saw the Chihuahuas and loved them. They brought them back to the U.S., and by 1904, the first Chihuahua was registered with the American Kennel Club, a doggy from Texas named Midget. Rude name, by the way. Anyway, over the next 100 years, the Chihuahuas gained popularity in the U.S. There was Bepi, the first Chihuahua AKC champion. And then there was Pepito, a little Chihuahua that the famous conductor Xavier Cugat held in one hand while he conducted his orchestra with the other hand. And then that brings us, eventually, to 1997, when fast food chain Taco Bell features one Chihuahua dog as a one-off character in a single commercial that airs only in the Northeast United States. The commercial was so overwhelmingly popular that Taco Bell built a whole series of ads around the dog.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
The first commercial starred Gidget, who plays a love-struck male Chihuahua, and soon that famous line, Yo quiero Taco Bell, with the accent and all, turns into a ubiquitous punchline. And for those youngins who weren't around for this commercial was so radically popular. It was truly everywhere. It was one of those like monoculture moments when the entire country knows about something. Taco Bell gets creative, selling t-shirts and figurines of Chihuahuas, does a Godzilla-themed commercial.
I think I need a bigger box.
And then another commercial where the Chihuahua is supposed to resemble a Marxist revolutionary, I guess, maybe Che Guevara. The very dramatic commercial shows thousands of people cheering for this revolutionary to speak. There are red banners with massive gorditas on them. And then the revolutionary emerges, a Chihuahua in a black beret, and he says,
Viva Gorditas! Bless you, Taco Bell.
The Chihuahua sheds an emotional tear when he says, bless you, Taco Bell. And this offends some people, like some Cuban Americans in Florida who don't appreciate the wink to communism in the commercial. Also, the leader of the California Coalition of Hispanic Organizations calls for a boycott of the fast food chain unless they stop featuring the Chihuahua. Quote, to equate a dog with an entire ethnic population is outrageous, despicable, demeaning, and degrading. Mario Obledo, the leader of this organization, tells the LA Times this at the time. And Taco Bell is like, look, we did a ton of market research, specifically with Latino people, and they weren't offended. Media coverage from this time also quotes other Latinos who, indeed, are not offended by the Chihuahua. And honestly, I'm not offended either. I don't see the Chihuahua and think, oh, this is supposed to be a portrayal of an ethnic population. And the Chihuahua's accent, well, Chihuahuas are Mexican, babe. Maybe some of them do have accents, you know? My current dog, Chalito, is a pug, and he's Chinese-Mexican-American. He has royal Chinese lineage. To me, pugs are like the Chihuahuas of Asia, sweet little lap angels who were once exalted by emperors. Anyway, Chalino here may have Chinese ancestry, but he was born in Ciudad Juarez. He's a Juarense. And honestly, I think if he could talk, he'd sound just a little bit like the Taco Bell dog. Maybe not so exaggerated, but like his mama, he has a little fronterizo accent, you know, and I love that for him. I love our accents, Chalino. I don't like it, of course, when white people make fun or degrade our accents naturally. But the Taco Bell Chihuahua dog's accent doesn't strike me as an opportunity to laugh at us. When I was doing this research, I watched all the Chihuahua commercials with my preteen son, and we had a really good laugh. The dog is cute. The concept is clever. This is one of those instances where I'm like, it's not that serious, you know? But you know what does strike me as a little racist, though? In 1999, the LA Times publishes a piece claiming Ricky Martin has replaced the Taco Bell Chihuahua as, quote, the primary representation of Latino culture in mainstream media. Ew. Anyway, by the year 2000, Taco Bell retires the Chihuahua. The Chihuahua is popular in the culture, but that's not translating to more people going to pre-Doritos, Locos, Tacos, Taco Bell, you know. But then, the next year, Chalino, A new Chihuahua enters the chat.
Hi, I'm Elle Woods, and this is Bruiser Woods. And we're both Gemini vegetarians.
Shout out to the Geminis, the most misunderstood of zodiac signs. This is, of course, Bruiser Woods, Elle Woods' companion in Legally Blonde, Reese Witherspoon's touchstone hit about a not-so-ditzy blonde who makes it at Harvard Law. Bruiser introduces the fashion accessory dog, a girly pop's bestie, a femme's micro-companion, usually in pink getups. And who does Bruiser Woods inspire? Paris Hilton, who adopts Tinkerbell. And Tinkerbell is a series staple in Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie's reality show, The Simple Life. In one episode, Paris makes Tinkerbell take a pregnancy test.
She's acting weird. Here, we can do the pregnancy test. Blue means you're not pregnant, white means you are. What is that? Blue? She's not. You're not. Yay! Don't you ever worry me like that again.
Tinkerbell is such a part of Paris's public persona that Paris releases a tell-all memoir of Tinkerbell titled The Tinkerbell Hilton Diaries, My Life Tailing Paris Hilton. In 2005, Tinkerbell makes her SNL debut during Paris's opening monologue.
I'd like to meet a little friend of mine named Tinkerbell. She's 2 years old, and just like me, she's really into fashion.
During the monologue, cast member Kenan Thompson emerges with another Chihuahua, and the two dogs have a conversation via voiceovers.
Life is good. Keenan stopped on the way here and bought me a hot dog.
Oh, I would kill for a hot dog. All she ever gives me is Fiji water and Altoids.
Wait a minute, look. That must be why your breath smells so good.
That accent to me does feel racist. There's just a difference, you know, between the Taco Bell Chihuahua's accent and this one done on SNL. If you get it, you get it. This one's more exaggerated. It's not just an accent. It's a caricature. So by this time, there's a more pronounced stereotype around the Chihuahua forming in the U.S. And then?
Bossy, arrogant, manipulative Beverly Hills Chihuahua. I need to cool off.
The movie The Beverly Hills Chihuahua premieres. Drew Barrymore voices a bougie Chihuahua.
So embarrassing.
And George Lopez voices Papi, a street-smart caballero Chihuahua.
Perdóname, por favor.
And then there's also the Chihuahua in Mean Girls.
What is the hot gossip? Tell me everything. What are you guys listening to? What's the cool jams?
She's not a regular mom. She's a cool mom. And there is just no other dog, except maybe the Golden Retriever, that gets this much media portrayal in the US. I think that's because of a couple of reasons. One, Chihuahuas are adorable. And two, there's something about their big spirits in their little bodies. There's a statement there that you can be delicate and small and beautiful and also have a big attitude, big demands, big gumption. So we're at 2008-ish here. And there's an explosion of Chihuahua demand, so much so that they are put in danger again. I love the hee ha ha, that's so cute nature of a dressed up Chihuahua sticking out of a purse. And you know, if all Chihuahuas were living like little monarchs, that'd be the end of the story. But of course, there's something more insidious happening, because this accessorizing of Chihuahuas is also, to a degree, an objectifying of them. And when living things start to be perceived as objects, they become disposable. And that seems to have happened to Chihuahuas. As of 2013, Chihuahuas appear to be the most euthanized breed in the US, second only to pit bulls. It's hard to say for sure because there's no national database on dog euthanasias in the US, but there is a lot of anecdotal evidence online from regional shelters that Chihuahuas are one of the most killed breeds. There's a trend here. Chihuahuas become very popular in the culture. Then there's overbreeding. Then there's more of them in kill shelters. For example, in 1998, when the Taco Bell commercials were at their height, demand for Chihuahuas skyrocketed. But then the number of Chihuahuas in shelters increased as well. Look, all dogs deserve love and care, and Chihuahuas, they hold a very special place in my heart. I really do feel a kinship to them. Is it because we share a place of origin? Maybe. I do believe living things, plants, animals, humans from the same region can be in solidarity if you connect with them. But also, it's maybe because I see a parallel in the journey of Chihuahuas and the people who share their land of origin. Just like Chihuahuas, there are moments in U.S. history when Mexican culture is desirable, sought after, cool. Our food is one of the most popular in the U.S. Our music has also reached high points, and I see a lot of people copying our street style. Lots of baddies out there inspired by the Chola aesthetics. Just like society fucks with the Chihuahua look. Who doesn't like a little Chihuahua in a sweater sticking out of a purse? But is there structural care for us in society? I would argue not. Chihuahuas remain one of the most euthanized breeds in the country, despite the popular culture obsession with them. And Mexican people remain disproportionately concentrated in vocations that are the most dangerous, least protected, and least visible. Sectors like agriculture, domestic work, meatpacking, construction. And of course, our citizenship, our place, our safety in this country is constantly in question, more so depending on who's in office. But there is one truth that the Chihuahuas remind me of. We come from peoples who studied the stars and who knew we came from them. For me, it's always going to come back to this, babe. We are all made of ancient matter from the cosmos. And so many of our ancestors knew that that made us inherently worthy. And I recognize that knowledge in the Chihuahua, an inner knowing of exactly who they are. They're not trying to prove why you should love them. They just seem to carry themselves understanding their worth. And you know what? They are a bit cunty. They keep their circle small. They seem a bit judgy sometimes, grouchy when it's justified to be grouchy. They remind you of their boundaries. Don't cross this line, bitch, or you will hear it from me. That's a Chihuahua's ethos, babe. I love a diva, even with dogs. And when I see a Chihuahua like Tinkerbell being pampered and loved by someone like Paris Hilton, I'm like, you know what? Hell yeah. That's Chihuahua reparations, babe. They deserve it. Because Chihuahuas survived. I think inside they know they are royalty. Interdimensional travelers, magical spirit guides, and that is why they are aloof to the external validation of this world. Because maybe they're not just of this world. They can see beyond to the underworld and the afterlife, and maybe they still guide us, like they did for the Toltecs, into understanding that self-worth is not based on the whims of society. Sometimes you'll be a fad, and other times you'll be exiled. But deep inside, you know there is a cosmic royalty to who you are. And none of these bitches can take that away.